Hello friends, I'm here to paint small tonight. This is a 5x7 panel. You can see I've toned with my bright acrylics and show you what I'm doing. I'm going to have to move you, so we'll probably struggle to get you back. We are doing, I'll turn it off, the light off. We're doing a glass of water. I have done liquor, and I do like that kind of amber color, but I saw someone post a glass of water recently, and I thought, let's just do a glass of water. So it's going to change when I turn the light on, and it may not look through here the way I'm going to see it, but I'm going to have to really look for the variations of lighter colors. I see some blue in there. You know, we got to make it interesting, so I'm going to have to look for those things. You can see a reflection there and somewhat of a shadow. I don't know. It's just something I wanted to do. It sounded fun. Hopefully it will be. So we'll turn you around. I've got you pretty dead on there. And I think what we'll do first is we'll get the sketch on here, and then I think I may bring you over and we'll mix up some colors, because it's a lot of grays, you know, but again, we need to make it interesting. So we'll use our view catcher to get our sketch on. I haven't really looked through it yet. This is a view catcher. You slide it for your size canvas and set up your composition. So we're going vertical. So there's no markings on here for a 5x7, so I will just do what I think looks like a 5x7. It's all wet. I think my solvent must have leaked out a little bit in my container. I've got a plastic tote that carries all my paints and my solvent-free liquid, and so maybe that's what it is. So I set it for what I think looks like a 5x7, and I've got myself pretty close to it. I wanted to be right up on it, so I'm looking down over it. And we'll take some ultramarine blue and some transparent red oxide. That's what I like to sketch with. Welcome new subscribers. Channel just been growing lately. I just love it. I'm an oil painter. I work in water mixable oils, which really are just oils except they're water cleanup. I consider myself an impressionist. But I like to paint from life. I like to paint plein air. I like to paint still lifes, as you can see. You know, I just like working from life. All right, so let's look through here and try to get this on here. I shut one eye and try not to move it around a whole lot. I do like some of that shadow. So let's make some marks to where I think that's about the top of the glass. And you can use your paintbrush. I keep saying this, like look through here and use the handle. Say, okay, where's the top of that? Where's the edge of that hit? And use that, you know, it helps. Okay, so that glass, I've already moved it. Every time I pick this up and put it back, it changes things. Back out a little bit because I want to get and you're right in front of me, so it's a little crowded. I'm sorry, I keep bumping you even. Glass is going to pretty much fill the whole thing. Okay, now we can measure down from the back of the glass to the front of the glass. You know, if the top of the glass is hitting there. It's pretty far down, actually. You know, and we'll just adjust it till we get it right. Now I'll look down inside the glass, and how far down do we see that water line? Pretty low. This is called an ellipse, and they can be tricky, and obviously if you're dead on it, you're going to be looking at it like that, and as you step away, it shifts that way. And it's fun. I actually prefer to see down in my containers a little bit versus dead on like that, where you don't see at all. But ellipses can be tricky, and if you don't get them right, it's an obvious thing to the viewer. Okay, then how far down to the water line? About like that. And this may not be an interesting subject to you, but it's like so many things. It's just a challenge. Okay, so that's the water line. I'm looking, there's some highlights, whatever I can use to help me sketch this. This is one of those glasses with a nice big base on it. All right, I'm going to put my view catcher aside. And we're trying to do a bit of a value sketch here too. So, you know, we at least want to put in any darks that we see without getting them too heavy. Pretty dark here at the water line. And the back of the glass is pretty dark because the background is dark. You know, we're seeing through that. And we can use our little scraping tool, which is by Catalyst, to remove paint. So just take your time with this part of it, you know, don't rush it. Okay, so this is the edge of the water. I'm just rechecking stuff. It's about that far to the lip. You know, this may be a little high, I'm not sure. Been setting up today, got a show on Saturday I've been getting ready for at Northminster Fine Art Fair. If you're in the Cincinnati area, it's in Finneytown. I think that's considered Finneytown on Compton Road. Very nice show, juried show. It's usually the first Saturday in February, but because of the virus, they put it off a little while. So it's kind of nice, though, really. I think. I don't have a problem with it being later. The weather is nicer. I always worry a lot about it being in February. That lip will be, you know, pretty light. There's lots of ways you could go at this. You could tone the whole thing in this color and scrape out your drawing. I've done that. So that might be enough to get us going. Like I said, the background, this all is a darker color. Again, that's why we're seeing the darks through the glass. And I have to try to, you know, every time I step away, I want to try to get back where I was. That's one of the challenges of painting from life. Again, I could put liquor in this, and liquor is that beautiful, well, it depends on what you use, I guess, but kind of an amber color, which that would be real attractive too. And maybe next time. And that would actually probably be easier than this because, again, not a lot of color here. So I think what we'll do is we're going to bring you over here. Excuse the mess that my EZL box is. I need to scrape the whole thing out. Occasionally I do that, but not very often. So we'll bring you over. We'll bring you down. Trying to get you somewhat close so you can see. Okay, now we're going to need grays, and I want at least 3 values of gray, and there's lots of ways to go at a gray. I tend to use a limited palette, a warm and cool of blue, yellow, red, and white. But I do have a couple other colors on here, the transparent red oxide. I like Indian yellow. Right now there's some yellow ochre on here. So, but if you're learning, to start with the primaries and white is an excellent way to learn. So let's mix up some orange first. Maybe we'll get you, maybe I'll bring you down a little bit too. So we'll have to completely reposition you when I get you back over to my painting. Okay, so let's make some orange. Cad red light, cad yellow medium. Okay, and then we can take some blue and blue and orange, which that's all 3 primaries. Okay. I almost always, for gray, I go after all 3 primaries. And you can decide, do you want to be a warm gray or a cool gray? You know, that's pretty warm. So let's put a little more blue in there. Now you can see it's a cool gray. So just play around till you get what you want. And pull some of, I want some really light stuff for highlights. You know, and we might, I probably will even do some unexpected colors in here because I want it to be boring. You know, I just don't want it to look all gray. Even though this could be a good practice in just doing values, trying to get this correct. You actually could just paint this in all burnt sienna as a practice, you know, and try to get those values right. That wouldn't be a bad thing to do at all. So it's a darker, a mid-tone, and then we're getting something over here lighter, but they're all grade colors. And you can intermix these back and forth. Again, there's some very nice bright lights on there too that will probably take pure white, maybe a little yellow to get. And again, we may do something unexpected and make it more exciting too. So let's move it back over. Going to have to get you back up here to take me just a minute. Raise you up. that's pretty good, I think. Now, for the longest while, I've been starting with my lightest lights. And actually, you know, I do have my darks in there. Since the workshop with Shelby Keefe, after this step, I've been looking for my lightest lights. Now, that wouldn't be my highlights. I'm not going that light yet. We're going to reserve those really bright lights for the end, and we might even use a palette knife to lay those on. All right. I'm going to have to really think about what I'm seeing over there. So I'm going to go for what, again, not my highlights, but the lighter part of the glass first. I didn't pick up enough paint. And we're going to try not to overwork any of this. There's an area across here that's pretty light, and that's because we're seeing through the glass to the white cloth underneath. And I don't mind if some of this color peeks through at all. Okay. Just trying to look around, and it's tricky, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to jump around probably in values. I'm just trying to lay on what I see. It gets darker down in there. Definitely like a puzzle, isn't it? Now, a lot of what this to me looks pretty green, so I could take the complement, which is red, and kill the green a little bit. So again, I'm kind of jumping around. I'm going to jump around and go after these values that I see. As long as you get it in the end, I mean, I don't think it matters. Hear a bird out there singing this time of the night. It's getting dark. The birds know spring's coming, you can tell, don't you? And hopefully, you know, when we go laying the highlights in, that'll help a lot to explain what we're doing. There is always something to paint. This to me looks bluer in there. And it may look like when we're done, I don't know, you know, it may not work. It may end up being a big mess and I wipe it off. that's okay too. If I did that, you probably aren't seeing this. If it was a total flop, it's probably not on here. So if you're watching it, I guess it worked out okay for me. Just puzzles, puzzle shapes, you know. What shape, what color, what value is that area right there. So that's what we're doing. Boy, there's a lot of stuff going on. A glass of water. Who would think it'd be so interesting? Got some really pretty highlights in here. We'll go ahead and put that shadow in where we see it. And what we're going to do before we're just going to go ahead and get color everywhere before we go back to the glass. Let's just get it blocked in. Just trying for something for the background. Just mostly transparent red oxide and ultramarine and some white. I think I want to keep it a little warmer toward the transparent red. All right, let's blacken. All right, where now? Okay, that fabric right now hits just about my water line. I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to bring the background down a little bit. That would be called a tangent, where two things meet in an awkward place. And we don't want to cover up all this background, all our tone. You know, and this would be an opportunity to clean up the shape of your glass, of course, as you paint the background in. I did work on the last painting a little bit more. I don't have it in here to show you. I did develop the one with the dappled light. I did work on the shadows and light a little bit more on the building and on the ground. You know, if I do that, we kind of get a lost edge, which is not a bad thing either. And if you are one that, like me, and you're using the tone for the background, you can decide how much or little of it you want to show through. All right, the bottom part is much, much lighter. And we'll use that same pile of paint. That way it kind of all works together. Use the same color, but I'll go into a lot, you know, a lot more white. And this is really, actually, this area here is actually brighter than this. So I'm going to put a little tiny bit of yellow in it. The light that's shooting through that glass is actually warmer. Just a fun thing to look for. All right, I'm looking at my shape here and seeing if I'm satisfied. Let's get our palette knife out now, and let's think about some highlights. Again, the brightest lights are going to be pure white and a little bit of yellow. When I paint the side of a house that's sunlit, that's what I go for, is white with a little bit of yellow. It warms it up just a little. You could probably do a little orange even. All right, here's the crazy thing I'm going to do. I'm going to take some phthalo blue and some white. And we're probably going to put some of that someplace, but let's start looking at this now for highlights. You know, there are really bright lights, and then there are some that aren't as intense. And actually, you know, the whole edge is kind of a light blue kind of color. So, but right now we're just going for the brightest lights. Okay, I think what we're going to do is take a liner brush. I'm going to take some of this phthalo blue and white. Phthalo is a very intense color. If you're not familiar with it, you got to be careful with it. Like a bubble thing in there. Just adding some colors that maybe I see, maybe I don't see, just to make it interesting. I'm going to ground that glass. I do have a cane over there that, you know, I could rest my hand on, but I don't think to use it much. All right, I see a little problem there. Yeah, there's like a bubble there. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, or I did wipe off that highlight, so let's put it back. I felt like the glass was a little misshapen, you know, and I'm not a realist. Obviously I'm not, so I don't mind things not being absolutely perfect. You know, I want them to read right, but I did a still life recently, a couple of weeks ago, I don't know, with, not on camera, I did it with the Monday group I took in a still life, and I had my bright tone on the back. Here, I'll show it to you. And I ended up with my scraping tool, I did some scraping into it, which exposed some of the background tone, which I kind of like. See, it's bright and juicy, fresh flowers, but see, look around that yellow flower where I took in my scraping tool and scraped, kind of mirrored the shape of the petals, and I kind of like the effect that I got. See all the pink poking through? I think it's juicy and fun. So, you know, I could do that with this. I could go in here with the scraping tool and expose more of this background color if I thought I wanted to. You know, I could do it in the glass, or I could do it around the glass. I don't know. You know, a little bit of that to explain the, or you know, if you want to explain the edge a little bit better, that's a little bright. One nice thing about the tone, see it there? I like it showing there. Gosh, that only took 35 minutes. That's pretty quick. I'm looking at it to see if I'm satisfied with everything. This is the water line that comes across and up. I'm going to warm that up a little bit. And we kind of lost this shadow here. Yeah, I had like here, and then that really warm spot between. Seeing if I got everything that I want. You know, the whole rim of this is, you know, pretty lit. Not real, the really intense areas though, I've got on pretty thick. Which was the yellow and the white. Looking to see if I missed any. All right, that's about 40 minutes. I'll look at it now and decide if it feels right. Hopefully it does. That looks about what I'm seeing over there, and the shape of this. And again, I'm not a realist. I'm not going for that. I find it more interesting. You know, if you wipe out, again, here I've got a lost edge right there, and that doesn't bother me. I think it's interesting for people to figure out some things for themselves. I like lost edges. I like reflected light. All right. Thanks for joining me. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. We recently had a drawing and gave away a painting, and we will be doing that again for too long. Maybe when we hit 1,500, we'll do it. All right, watch for me next time. If you hit the notification bell, they'll let you know when I upload a new video too. All right, this was fun. Get a glass of water out and try it yourself. All right, have a nice evening. Good night.